What in the world is
This is my hurdy-gurdy. I got this as a birthday present this year. It's a medieval stringed instrument. And the way it works is it's got these strings going through the box. And it's got a wheel here. Okay. And there's a crank that you turn the wheel. And the wheel rubs against the strings like a violin bow.
Yeah.
And it creates this sound. And then there's a keyboard here where you can play melodies on it, which is hard to do with me standing up here. But
so you turn...
But it's super old. It's like, not this individual instrument, but the instrument as a whole is like from 1100 AD, 1200 AD. It's before violins were invented.
How did somebody come up with that?
It's very cool. It's such a neat instrument. And if you like drone music like I do, it's a really cool way to make drone music.
Logan Albright.
Welcome, Trey.
Dude,
Welcome to my humble abode.
Yeah, I know. This is the first time that I've actually gotten out of my cave and taken it elsewhere. I'm digging it. What about you?
Yeah, I like it here. It's comfy.
So, gear and beer. Might as well start it off. I bring you a gift.
Well, thank you.
A 3-notch beer.
What is this?
It's a 3-notch. Oh gosh, my wife picked it up for me. But
Pacific Jade Juicy IPA. Sounds like something I would like.
Yeah, and I've been digging it 8%, and then I see something that
I got this is from Aslan, which we've been fans of for a long time in Virginia, and it's called Drippin' on the Cheap. And I bought this because I like the label, where it's a bunch of like notes for the employees saying like, "Why'd you call it that? What's the name about?"
That's so cool.
Which I thought was funny.
I bet you they had a ton of fun making this one.
Yeah.
Which ton of fun leads me into. We're here in I call it a DJ booth. What is it?
It's just my apartment, man.
I know, but we've got all this gear, which is why we're here.
Okay.
But for those that are not familiar with what's going on?
Well, I love music.
Okay.
And I've been doing music for 20 years or so. Went to music school in Boston, Berklee College of Music.
Yep. And
I like weird stuff. And I've been listening to like all kinds of crazy, weird industrial ambient noise.
Yep.
All kinds of crazy experimental music for a long time. And I've always played the guitar. I've always done kind of traditional music. And then, a couple of years ago, I really wanted to get into more synthesizers and electronic music and things like that. And I didn't know much about them. So I started buying gear. And I don't have a lot of gear by Synth Geek standards. I've got a few things, but we'll go through kind of what I use to make my music.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking at it and it looks pretty intimidating, but I do want to discuss the music genres that you're into because while on top of being a musician, you're also an author.
Yes.
An audio engineer.
Yeah, I do audio for Free the People.
Is writer and author pretty much the same thing?
Yeah, I think so.
And then you're also a content creator for YouTube.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
And then you also do this. And then, hold on, there's one other thing I'm missing. Where do you host all your music?
Oh, so I have a Bandcamp page for my project. And the project that I have on Bandcamp is called Alblinking.
Okay.
You can go to alblinking.bandcamp.com. And I don't have a lot up there yet, but I'm going to put some more up, I think, in February, because I've kind of amassed enough songs that I think I can put out another album. So it's a hobby for me. I'm not making any money off of it right now, but it's something that I'm passionate about. And I've been sinking a lot of money into gear over the past few years.
Well, I think it's paid off because I've kind of seen it from when you used to make music for us and for some of our videos, and then now to the point where you're actually literally making the tracks for some of the projects that you're either featured in or writing for.
Yeah, I had to do we did a kind of a parody Breaking Bad video about a year ago, I did like a sound-alike of the Breaking Bad theme. I was very pleased with that. That was a lot of fun.
I still think the coolest though was it Deadlyism's episode or season 2 episode number 2 when you're literally playing live music?
Yeah, I was playing the piano in that video,
which is pretty epic. So now that we've gotten kind of all that little out of the way, let's jump into what is the most basic. Can we start with like the basic thing? I guess to me that's the only thing I'm familiar with is the soundboard over here.
Well,
but is that not where we should start? Where's the
should I start with like things that make noise or things that record noise?
I don't know. You're the expert.
Well, the first thing I bought when I started doing this was this keyboard here.
Okay.
Which is, I'll unplug it.
And we've got you on the wide shot so we can see it.
This is a Korg Monologue. It's an analog synthesizer. It's pretty affordable.
Okay.
And it's got a keyboard on it, which people will be familiar with. And it's got all the controls here. And it's actually an excellent like entry level analog synthesizer. It's very versatile. It's got a sequencer here. It's entirely programmable, so you can program like knob turns, so you don't have to physically turn the knobs. You can make the computer remember that it'll do that for you.
Okay, that's cool.
So that's really cool. It's really versatile. It can do percussive stuff. It can do kind of pad stuff. It can do lead stuff. It can do bass line stuff. It's a mono synth, so which means it only plays one note at a time.
Okay.
But that's the way most analog synths are, and it just sounds great. The Korg filter is like a classic. The MS-20 filter is well known. It's kind of squelchy and really beautiful sounding. So like to get a lot of kind of vintage electronica sounds, this is great. And it was a good entry level place to jump in because it was pretty simple. Like all the controls are laid out.
Okay.
The manual tells you what to do, and you can just play it like a keyboard.
It's funny because it looks intimidating, but I'm imagining give yourself a few days, you can probably figure it out.
Maybe? I mean, it's deep. It does a lot of things, and there's a whole like digital controls in here that you can change the tuning, you can change the slide between the notes and everything, and it kind of is as deep as you want it to be.
Sure.
But if you just want to plug something in and play, you can do this as well.
So it'll plug into your computer? Because I'm seeing the back. Can you actually flip it just around?
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's got a USB out, and it's got MIDI out, and it's got line out. So you can plug it into headphones. You can plug it into a computer. I use this audio interface for the most part.
Okay.
To plug into my computer.
Yeah. So a lot of you guys, if you're watching, you probably have seen something like this for podcasts, correct? Yeah.
So this is really simple. It's just got two inputs, and basically, if you have an instrument like this, you need a way to record it into your computer, so you can then edit the files and stuff.
Okay.
There's a couple ways to do it, but the simplest way is to just get a box like this. This is a Focusrite Scarlett audio interface with two inputs, and you plug this into the USB port of your computer. Okay. And then you have your line in here, and it takes both XLR cables and 1/4-inch cables.
Gotcha.
And then you can record directly into your computer, whatever kind of editing software.
And that'll allow you to monitor it, to adjust the gain.
Yeah, you can monitor. I mean, I record into Adobe Audition for the most part.
Sure.
But you can use whatever kind of program you want to record.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Well, that there's a little.
And then if you want to get more fancy, this mixing board over here. Step out of the shot for a second.
I think we got you in some of the wides, especially your shot. I got you here.
I don't use this very often. This is a Pro FX12 mixer.
Okay.
There's two reasons I don't use it very often. One is that I don't have a permanent setup here in my apartment because it's just a little one-room apartment, and I have to set everything up and tear it down every time, and it's just a pain. So if I ever get a bigger place with a more permanent studio, I'll use it more. And then the other reason I don't use it a lot is because I'm just one person, and so I don't really need to record a bunch of stuff at the same time and like mix it all. But it's got some nice features on it. It's got a 3-band equalizer, so you can use basses and trebles and things like that. It's got a built-in compressor on the first 4 channels, which is really useful. And it's got a whole effects bank, which is really nice. Some of the effects are pretty cool. A lot of reverb, a lot of echoes, delays, reverbs, things like that. Really cool.
Okay. And like if somebody wanted more of maybe an entry-level one, do they make smaller versions of that?
Yeah, you can get smaller ones depending on your needs. I mean, most individuals aren't going to need one of these. You just need the interface, but it's nice if you're depending on your needs, if you want to blend different instruments together. If you're trying to record a band, or like if you're trying to record a podcast with a bunch of people talking, it's nice to have this, because the good thing about this for like podcasts is you can tailor the equalization to everybody's voice to bring out the richest part of their voice, because people have higher or lower voices.
Oh yeah.
So that's really nice for that.
It's funny because I mean I'm looking at it and it's super intimidating, but I'm guessing it's more so because of all the channels that's probably making, like, if you really just kind of
it looks like there's a billion knobs on there, and you're like, how am I going to remember what all those knobs do? But they're all duplicated, so every channel has like 8 knobs, and then it's duplicated across 12 channels. So you just have to know what the 8 knobs do.
So pause real quick, but what are we talking money wise? What are some of these little gadgets costing?
Okay, sure.
And where can we even
so
entry level?
The monologue synth is about $500, which I think is a real bargain for what it does. It's a real good entry level synth. The Focusrite 2-channel is about $150.
Reasonable.
Very reasonable. I don't actually remember how much this was. I think it was $300 or $400 for this. So a little bit more.
But if you're doing this if you're a pretty enthusiast or even doing it for a living, that's pretty cheap for everything.
That's not too bad. I mean, like, synthesizers can get very expensive, which we'll get into this giant thing here in a second. That's the real money hole.
Okay.
But this other stuff is okay. And then I've got a couple microphones here, which I was going to bring up.
Oh, yeah.
I've got, this is the SM57 from Shure, which is a really versatile, it's only $100. It's really versatile. It can be used for anything. It's very durable. You can bang it around. I use it primarily for recording guitars, because I have a whole bunch of guitars over there, which I don't know if you can see. It's great for amplifiers. It can take a lot of volume. So like if you crank up your amp, it doesn't blow out the mic. So that's good. It's good for drums, I'm told. I don't record any drums on it, but you can. So I like this one a lot, and it's real cheap. Really nice mic.
$100.
$100.
That's a steal.
It's a steal.
Can you record just like voiceover? Like, would it perform similar to one of these?
Yeah. You can do voice in here. Its vocals are not bad at all.
Can I see it?
Yeah.
God, $100? That's pretty cheap. And it's Shure. So, I mean, I would almost buy it just because of the brand alone. Like
it's like an industry standard, which is like every band uses it. But
I'll have to put a link in the description.
It's pretty good. And then I also have this blue microphone, which actually came free with a like combo pack of something I bought. So I didn't do a ton of research on it. I just thought, the blue microphones are good. I'll get that. Yeah. But I like this for more acoustic sounds.
Okay.
It's kind of better at capturing sort of the high end and the high harmonics. So like for acoustic guitar. Things where you want a little bit more natural sound, I think it sounds better. I don't use it to record amplifiers very much. I use that to record amplifiers.
It looks cool.
And it looks cool.
Yeah.
Good for vocals as well.
Okay. What other, I mean, you've got a lot of goodies here. Before you even open the grand finale, what's going on with, you've got something.
I want to talk about this. This is cool.
Yeah. What is that?
So this is a really awesome series that the Korg synthesizer company has come out with called Volca.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of them. And this is the Volca drum, which is basically a drum machine.
That little thing's a drum machine.
It's a drum machine, but it's an awesome drum machine. It's super versatile. You can completely customize and program the drum sounds you put in here. It's not just presets. It's not samples. They're all like actually synthesized sounds, and you can control every aspect of them. It's got this delay effect unit here, which you can use really extreme in a really extreme way to like create drones or ambient sounds out of it. It's not just percussion. It's got stutters. It's got looping. It's got all kinds of things you can do. You can really get down to the granular level and customize your sound really well on it. And it's highly programmable. It plugs into all your other gear. You can sync up the tempo and everything. And it's like $150, I think, 100 to 150 bucks.
Oh, that's super reasonable.
There's a bunch of them. They're all cool, but this is my favorite one. I think it's really versatile.
So at this point, I've seen, is it Korg? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, these are both Korg.
Is that just a go-to brand for you?
I like them because they're affordable and they're a trusted name in synthesizers. Like,
gotcha.
Moog is sort of like the big synthesizer with Granddaddy. He like invented the synthesizer.
Yeah.
But like Moogs are really expensive for the most part, so I don't have a lot of those.
Fair enough.
But good stuff. And then what else? Oh yeah, this pedal here.
Yeah, what's going on
I'm not a big
with
guitar pedal guy. I usually like just play my guitar straight into the amp. But I have this one pedal, and this is an Electro Harmonix Canyon reverb and delay pedal. It's great like for big washes of sound, really lush sounds, and you don't have to just use it on guitars. You can use it on anything.
That's cool.
And it's like the problem with like a synthesizer like this. I mentioned this and I forgot. The one drawback of this stuff is when you're dealing with purely analog synth sounds. Mm-hmm. This doesn't have any effects on it, and since the sounds are completely created by a little computer chip. There's none of the like room noise. There's none of the like reverberation through the wood you get through an acoustic instrument.
Okay.
It's very dry. And it sounds very unnatural, and people don't like that. Okay. And you kind of have to flesh it out a little bit. So effects are really important for synthesizers to make like simulate the sound of a room with reverb or something like that. So something like this is great because you can then plug the synth sound into it, which is really dry and raw and kind of harsh. And you can make it sound like it's reverberating through a big space, through a church or a little small room or whatever you want.
What's the little metal thing? Is that what you actually hit with your foot?
This is just an on-off switch. Or it can be used to tap the tempo. Yeah, it's for your foot because it's for people who play guitars.
I gotcha.
So you have it on the ground in front of you and you stomp on it. And,
I gotcha.
But this is a cool little pedal. I like this one.
What's that cost?
I think it's like $80, $90, I think.
That's
I
not
can't
bad.
remember. It's not very expensive. Electro Harmonix is a pretty affordable brand.
It's funny. We haven't even hit the $1,000 mark yet.
No, these are all everything here is pretty cheap.
Nice.
Okay, so let's get into this guy.
Yeah.
My pride and joy.
Yeah, I feel like, man, over the past couple of years, as you've advanced in your music skills, which you were always talented, it's just as far as the quality has gone, there were days when you used to show me things years ago, and I'd be like, it's good, but it's not sounding pro. And now when you send everything, and even listening to your track on Bandcamp, like it's there.
Yeah, it's getting there. I'm pretty happy with this. So this is a modular synthesizer.
Okay.
And this is not for everybody by any stretch of the imagination, but I love it. And it's such a like, it facilitates creativity so much.
Okay.
Like you can do a lot of this stuff with software. You can get really great, really flexible software synths that do a lot of stuff for a fraction of the price of this sort of thing. But I love the tactile nature of it, and I love the programmability and the customizability of it. And so it just facilitates creativity in a way that software doesn't for me. Software doesn't inspire me the way that this inspires me.
This looks cool.
So what this is each little piece you see here is a different module that are made by different manufacturers, and they all do different things. And you connect them all with cables, which I have some cables.
Yes, you have plenty. You have a ton of cables. And are they colored? Okay, just real quick. Why are they colored? Like, do they all serve the same purpose or just different colors?
No, they're all the same cable. It's just they're colored so you can tell what goes to what more easily when you have them all plugged in. Because when you set this up, you're going to have 50 cables plugged in, and it's hard to tell what goes to what.
Yeah.
So you connect them all with cables. Ordinarily, in a synth like the keyboard I showed you, all the connections are made on the inside of the case. So you never see them. You never see what's going on.
Oh, I got you.
The thing that makes the noise, the oscillator, is connected to the filter, and the filter is connected to the envelope, and the envelope's connected to the keyboard, and it's all wired up that way behind the scenes. You never have to think about it. Here you can do it all yourself, which means it's endlessly customizable. And each of these modules do a different thing. I brought out one I'm not using here. This is
Oh, that's smart.
a dope for noise and random voltage generator module, so you can see what they look like. But that's what they are. And they're all plugged into this case and all linked up. And you connect them with these crazy cables, and you can create a huge variety of sounds. And the cool thing about it is you can build whatever kind of synthesizer you want. So like you decide what kind of sounds you want to make, what kind of things you want to accomplish with your synth. And you buy the different pieces and you put them all in and you figure it out.
How many different pieces do you currently have roughly in that setup? Because I can see where they're bolted in.
About 16, 17, something like that.
And all functioning, doing little bitty different things.
They all do different things. So some of them make sounds, like this is a drum sounds right here.
Okay.
Some of them don't make any sound. This is an amplifier. It's actually 4 amplifiers, which what they do is they increase or decrease the volume of things. And you can control that with other control sources. So like this over here is called a low frequency oscillator.
Okay.
And it's just an electrical voltage that goes up and down slowly. And so you can plug that into the amplifier and you can have the volume increase or decrease slowly, which is cool. But you don't have to plug sound into here to have the volume increase or decrease slowly. You can plug something else into here, like an effect, like say the reverb that I have, and have the reverb increase or decrease slowly. The amount of it. Or like the length of an echo could increase or decrease slowly using amplifiers. There's filters, there's like clocks, things that just generate signals regularly that you can tell to set a tempo for your music. There's all kinds of stuff here. And so the possibilities are endless. You can do whatever you want. I'm kind of not really set up for, like, a lot of people do dance music. I'm not really set up for dance music because I'm not that interested in dance music. I'm interested in more kind of ambient experimental stuff. But you can definitely do that. I have a few drums, but I don't have a whole drum set in here like you could do if you wanted to.
What genre would you say that, like, at least your most recent album, what does that fall into? Because you tell me of these obscure genres.
Yeah, ambient or drone, I would say.
Ambient or drone.
Yeah, for the most part.
And
I like that stuff.
Is that what you're currently working on right now? Same kind of stuff?
Yeah, I tend to make that. I mean, it's a little bit mixed. Some of it is a little bit more like IDM electronica, which stands for intelligent dance music. Some of it is more like that. Some of it has a little bit more of a beat.
Well, I kind of liked it because I like to put it on and then edit to it.
Yeah.
So
but it's a mix, but I like that. And then some of it is more on the noise end because I like noise music.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it can get pretty noisy. I mean, this is all very high voltage gear. And so it can get really loud and really distorted and really noisy, which is cool if you want that.
And you're, just for reference, you're always doing this, for those who might be wondering, with headphones on, right? Like you're doing all this within your software.
There's no speaker in here. So I do it with headphones. You could plug it into a speaker if you wanted to, but I think, headphones are the optimal way to really hear what you're doing and get the sound that you want out of it. And so, yeah, I've been building it over the last 2 or 3 years, piece by piece. I started with this one, which is kind of an all-in-one, kind of everything you need to get started. A lot similar to the keyboard synth I showed you. And then just one piece at a time, fill it in and figure out what kind of things you want. And I've taken a few pieces out, like that one that I don't need anymore. I might buy one more to finish it off, but it's basically done at this point. And then the danger is you get addicted to it, and you buy another case and you fill up that case, and you buy a third case and you fill up that case, because it's infinitely expandable. But modular synthesis is expensive for one thing. Each one of these modules costs between, like the low end, you're going to pay $80 or $90 at the minimum. Okay. And then the high end, they go up to like $600 for.
What's your most expensive one you have?
These two here are both pretty complex computer-based modules, and I think they're both about $400 to $500 each.
Are they new pieces that you bought, or is it some? Okay.
There's a huge secondary market for this stuff because there's a lot of them are made by tiny companies, and they discontinue things, or they do limited edition things. and then people want them later. And so there's a secondhand market where people trade and swap and things like that. Like this piece here, which is called Maryland Bangs. It's like a noise drone generator. I bought this from a company called Error Instruments in Europe, I think the Netherlands, and I think they only made 15 of them.
I like how they did almost like a print on it.
Yeah, they did a pop art print on it.
That's
and
cool.
I think there's only 15 of them made. So I bought that because I thought that would be cool to have one of only 15 in the world. But if I get tired of it, I could sell it to someone else and they'll be like, I want that that's no longer in production.
That is really stinking cool.
Yeah.
How many hours a week you think? Well, maybe not even a week, like just how many hours are you diving in this? Or when you do dive into it, is it at hours upon hours?
It's usually a couple hours at a time because
Sure.
it takes a long time to set up. You know,
Okay.
like you have to really think about how you're going to plug everything in and how you're going to route everything. And you often don't know what you're going to get beforehand. Like
Sure.
You're kind of just, I'm going to plug this into here and see what it sounds like, see what happens. And just experimenting with it and playing around. And one of the things that I did when I was setting this up is I deliberately didn't get a keyboard with it. Like you could plug an external keyboard into it, or you could buy a module that has a little keyboard controller in it.
Okay.
But I didn't want I didn't want to default to just using my hand the way I would use a keyboard. I thought that was too easy, and I'd fall into the same patterns you always fall into. So I wanted to force myself to kind of think outside the box and think creatively. Like if I want to create a melody now, I can't play it with my hand.
Yeah.
I have to program it in using all these different modules. And so it's a lot harder, but it also makes me think a lot more about what I want to create and come up with new ideas that I wouldn't otherwise come up with.
So what led you to this?
That's a good question. I'm trying to remember how I first got into this.
I mean, because I know you just are into all the different kind of music.
I mean, it was stuff I was listening to, and I wanted to kind of explore electronic music a little bit. And I think I bought the Korg monologue, and I was playing around with that, and I thought, this is cool. I like all these features and stuff, but I'd seen modular synthesizers, and I thought that seems like it's a lot cooler.
Yeah.
And I love just like the 1950s science fiction look of it. You know, it looks like something you would see in Plan 9 from Outer Space, where the scientist is controlling the spaceship and twisting all the knobs and plugging in all the cables and stuff. I just thought it was cool. And so after I kind of learned a little bit about acoustic or analog synthesis, and I kind of figured out what it was about, I thought I'm going to experiment with this. And, you know, this is probably my most expensive item I own. But when you put all the modules together in the case and the cables and everything. But it's a great hobby, and it's fun.
I was
going to
say it's a pretty stinking cool hobby, and like not only that, I mean, I mentioned it earlier. It's kind of turned into like the evolution of another skill set that you have that honestly is.
But I mean, like it's not for everybody. It's expensive. It takes a lot of time. It's not accessible at all. There's a learning curve. Like this stuff was made with electronics geeks in mind.
Sure.
So they don't really protect you from your stupidity, which they should, but they don't. So like if you plug one of these in backwards and you turn the power on, it'll fry it.
Oh, gosh.
So you got to be really careful when you're setting it up, not to do that, not to let that happen. But
yeah, I was gonna say they don't have like fuses that would blow first, do they?
Some of the more modern ones have protection mechanisms put in.
Yeah.
But the cheaper ones and the ones that are made by kind of the original companies that first started inventing this stuff, they don't have anything. And they assume you know what you're doing if you're buying them.
It's kind of funny though that you mentioned that, because like even when I was in high school and did like car audio, there was that kind of that risk reward of like, oh, well, I know that it could possibly happen, you know, like frying an amplifier or something, but just kind of funny. I don't know.
Yeah,
living on the edge.
You know, it's a lot of fun. And the other thing it's not good for is if you need to be fast. Like if you have a gig like scoring a film or something and you need to come up with a lot of music real quick. It's probably not the best for that because it takes a long time to program it and get it just the way you want it.
Yeah.
But if you want the customizability, that's what it's unbeatable for. Because although I said you can get all this stuff in a computer package that does it, you can't do half the stuff with that you can do with this. You can't twist 5 knobs at the same time on the computer the way you can do here with cables. You know,
how are you twisting 5 knobs at once?
Well, you make the modules twist each other, basically.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So you plug one signal into another one, and you say, and that signal's telling the knob to twist, basically. The physical knob doesn't twist, but what the knob does
literally
changes.
thought you were about to do something crazy
No.
and like have the wires wrapped
but like
around one another.
I can make, these are 3 filters in a row. I can make all 3 of these filters change at different rates at the same time.
Okay.
And at the same time I'm doing that, I can have the pitch of my oscillators move up and down. I can have my envelope change. I can have my echo change. I can have my reverb change. I can have everything change at the same time just by setting up cables and plugging them into each other. You can't do that on a laptop. You can't do that with a mono synth. This is what that's for, and that's pretty cool.
So, obviously, you've kind of self-taught yourself this, but you had to have watched somebody or consumed it somewhere else to get this into it. So where?
There's a ton of YouTubers who do really great.
Is it Heimbach, the one that you told me I had to?
So Heimbach is amazing. He's a German composer, filmmaker. I don't think he makes films, but he does soundtracks for film and theater. He's a musician, and he does a lot of really kind of awesome electronic music using old like laboratory equipment. He buys old laboratory equipment that wasn't even really designed to make music, and he like installs it and makes music with it. He doesn't do a ton of Eurorack. This system is called Eurorack.
Okay.
He doesn't do a ton of Eurorack stuff, but he's a great guy for inspiration. There's a guy called DivKid. Who's based in England, who's really into this, and he demos a lot of these modules, and I always watch his stuff before I buy a module.
Nice.
And see what he's about. But yeah, there's a ton of people on YouTube who explain how this stuff works and like give you ideas of different patches you can put together. And like there's a great video on there that if anyone wants to get into this, I can't remember who does the video. I'll have to find out and link it or something, but there's a wonderful video that explains how to install these things without breaking them.
Oh.
And it's like a 45-minute video, and like you have to watch it before you install any of them, because
save a lot of money.
Otherwise you're going to break them, and like I just paid $300 for that and now it's broken.
Yeah.
You know? So that's really important.
So what's the evolution if I actually came back? Well, hopefully not here. Hopefully you have a even baller place a few years from now. But what would be the evolution of, if you're seeing this now, a few years from now, would it be this plus a couple more of these?
I'll probably get another case and fill up another case with stuff, because I have a few modules that I'm not using now, and I want to plug them into something to make it more versatile and more voices and more sounds. So I probably do that. I also want to do more acoustic instruments to incorporate into there, because you can have, it's a nice blend of using the electronic kind of bass and then adding a few acoustic instruments in. So I've been trying to get a few more kind of unusual acoustic instruments. I have guitars, and they're fine. I love guitars. They're amazing, but I want to try to get more unusual sounds and exotic sounds. So,
well, you did bring it up, so I'm going to at least call you out on it. But can you at least show me one of your favorite guitar currently that you have? Because I know we can see it in the wide shot over here. So because I mean, over the past couple of years, I've definitely seen you show me photos of your guitars, and then I knew that you bought them. So is this your current fave?
This is my favorite guitar that I have. This is by a company in Canada called Eastwood.
Okay.
And this is a guitar called the Cozy, which is based on a guitar that a Miles Davis guitarist had.
Awesome.
It's kind of a semi-hollow body. It's got this nice, beautiful F-hole in it, beautiful sunburst finish. And it just sounds good. It's very versatile. It's got humbucking pickups, so it's good for a lot of different things.
Okay.
I like humbuckers better than single coil pickups. They have a little crunchier sound to them. They're good for metal. I don't play a lot of metal, but I like that sound better. And so this is a fantastic guitar. It's really easy to play. Okay. I want to show you one more.
Yeah, no, please do. Because I mean, it's so funny. Like, I'm just not a musician, so this is something I was never into. But working with you for years, it was one of those things. Like, I almost got excited every time you got one because you were so pumped about it. Dang, that's matte black.
Yes, matte black.
That's cool.
This is definitely a metal guitar. This is an ESP Viper 401B, and the B stands for baritone. ESP is a metal company. The body shape is like Gibson SG, which I've always wanted to have but never bought because they're super expensive.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's beautiful. It's really fast. Like the fretboard is really fast on this.
What does that mean?
It's just easy to play fast. Like
okay,
your fingers
I got you.
move it. The action is nice and low. It's really great sounding, and it's a baritone guitar, so which means that the strings are tuned lower than a regular guitar.
Yeah.
So it's really good for kind of deep, growly sounds. It's good for deep metal sounds. I really love another genre of music that I love is like drone or doom metal. Mm-hmm. So like Sun and Earth and bands like that. I love that kind of stuff. So that's really cool. I like this guitar a lot. It sounds great. It's got active pickups, which have a battery in them, which most guitars don't, which means they're a little bit more aggressive sounding.
Okay.
And it's a really cool guitar, and it's really easy to play.
I love the matte black.
Yeah, it's a great finish.
That's cool. I wouldn't even have thought of doing that.
I have a Fender strap on it, which I really shouldn't have, but
that's funny.
It's a strap I have.
I love how it's a car seat belt, right?
Yeah, it is.
Old school.
Old school car
I don't even know
belt.
if kids would even know what that was if they saw it. They'd be scared of it.
That's a fantastic guitar. I love that.
That's awesome.
It's good for like clean tones too. It's not just like you don't have to put distortion on it. You can get really kind of country western, like twangy but really low, deep, like a Johnny Cash style stuff. It's really cool.
That's awesome. And so, well, I know you're away from the mic, but how many do you own currently?
Well, in this apartment, I have 5 guitars and a bass, 4 electric, 1 electric bass, and 1 acoustic guitar. In my parents' home where I grew up and first learned to play the guitar, I think I have like 3 more sitting around that I don't play anymore. But these are, there's one I want to get rid of and get a different one probably because I don't play it that much, but I have about 5.
Okay. Now, I know we're going a little bit off topic of what everyone's seeing here.
Yeah.
But while I had you, because this is a podcast, and you also are the head audio engineer for a podcast, a weekly one called Kibby on Liberty, can you, for the audience, like talk about the mics that you use for that show, and also some of the audio, like kind of how you do the processing and things like that, just real quick, just because I'm currently doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And your proof of concept that you have has been doing pretty well for the past few years. So what kind of gear are y'all using?
I don't actually remember do you remember what those mics are?
I think they're the Audio Technica.
Audio Technica mics. Yeah, those are great podcast mics. I really like those.
Didn't you get those for super cheap or something like that? Or were they like $200?
No, I think they were like 200. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a long time. It's been like 5 years since we bought them, so I don't remember.
But do you record into this device or do you record
Yeah, we have a bigger one of these with
Okay.
4 channels that we use sometimes if we have multiple guests. But for just 2 guests, I usually record into one of these. I
Sure.
record into Adobe Audition.
Okay.
And then I don't do much in the processing afterwards. I mean, sometimes what I'll do, which I like to do, is just pan the tracks. If I have like in this one, if you're on one side and I'm on the other side, just pan the tracks so that it comes more, your audio comes more out of your speaker and my audio comes out more out of my
That's
speaker.
a good idea. Yeah.
I do that a lot. I think that's cool. Maybe I'll add a little compression sometimes to kind of even out the lows and the highs.
Sure.
Because sometimes people it depends on the person, but some people have really spiky voices where they'll talk really quiet like this most of the time, but then they'll laugh or something and they'll do really loud.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden. And so putting a little compressor on there, just what a compressor does, if people don't know, is it pushes down the highest audio levels and then it pulls everything back up to match it.
I got
So
you.
it just kind of evens out the volume,
Nice.
which is pretty cool. That's an oversimplified way of explaining compression, but that's basically
No,
what it
I think
does.
it's good to know because over the past couple of years, I feel like you said, you get different people and the different frequencies. My voice is different than yours, so having that and be able to level out things is always a good thing.
We recorded Glenn Jacobs, who was the wrestler Kane.
Oh yeah.
And he's like 7 feet tall and like 400 pounds, and he's huge, and he's got this huge voice box, but he speaks very softly. He's got a very gentle voice. And it was so hard to record him because, first of all, his voice is really deep. And then second of all, he speaks very softly, but then he would laugh and it would just come out like this booming, loud laugh, really super loud, like unrestrained. And I just have to like crank all the knobs down,
gosh,
to try to prevent it. Sometimes I'll use a limiter.
Okay.
I don't have the limiter on this, but you can have it in your software and you can have it in I think the Zoom box you're using probably has a limiter on it.
Yep.
If you do a soft limiter, it'll stop that clipping happening when you exceed a certain limit. That's pretty good. If you have someone like that. But someone like that is always just challenging to record because the volume levels vary so wildly.
Well, to wrap things up, one, I'd love to know kind of some of the things. I know we've just been talking about gear currently, but you've got a book that's coming out.
A book.
You have, you produce a podcast.
Yeah.
You also are the lead host of a podcast, which is...
We call that podcast Last Call.
Last Call.
There's a couple actual podcasts called Last Call, so you may not see it right away. But
I feel like though you guys are slowly ticking up more and more. And
me and my
over
buddy
that.
Mike Fuse do a podcast called Last Call, where we talk about just kind of libertarian philosophy, I guess.
All right.
And through the news of the day through a lens of libertarianism, we try to get a little bit more in depth than what the stuff that happens on Kibby on Liberty, and go a little deeper for the nerds in the audience.
Hey man,
which is fun.
That's always good. So it's music, it's podcast.
I get bored doing one thing. I have to do lots of different things because I'm like, this is fun and I love doing this, but I'll get sick of this and I'm like, I want to go write a book instead. So, you have to mix it up. I have to have a routine.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Any other advice you got for anyone right now going through these crazy weird times? Learn a new skill, maybe.
Don't worry, be happy, man.
And watch a lot of YouTube.
Don't worry, be happy. I think, the thing about it is like your attitude makes such a big difference. Like sure. I really struggled last year. I was very upset for most of the year. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I finally got over it. I finally kind of got a zen place about it. And it's like, you can't control what's going on in the world, but you can control your attitude and have a good attitude about it and just try to enjoy your life and find things to keep yourself busy and to do the things that are important to you and that give you meaning.
That's a great way to end.
Yeah.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Dude, of course. I can't wait to have you back again.
Yeah.
I'll probably have to nerd out with you a little bit more and get more in depth on audio, but this is fun. This is fun because this is something I don't think a lot of people get to see.
Yeah.
And honestly, you kind of get to simplify it a little bit.
Can I show you my hurdy-gurdy to end?
Yeah.
Hang on.
What is this? What in the world is
This is my hurdy-gurdy. I got this as a birthday present this year. It's a medieval stringed instrument. And the way it works is it's got these strings going through the box. And it's got its wheel here.
Okay.
And there's a crank that you turn the wheel, and the wheel rubs against the strings like a violin bow.
Yeah.
And it creates this sound. And then there's a keyboard here where you can play melodies on it, which is hard to do with me standing up here. But
So you turn.
But it's super old. It's like, I mean, not this individual instrument, but the instrument as a whole is like from 1100 AD, 1200 AD. It's before violins were invented.
How did somebody come up with that?
It's very cool. It's such a neat instrument. And if you like drone music like I do, it's a really cool way to make drone music.
All right. Well, next time I might have you just talk about that the whole time. That's hilarious. All right. That's a great way to finish, man.
All right. Thanks
again.
buddy.
Thank you. Cheers.